Imagine a decade when cinema learned to sing in the rain, stare through rear window shutters, and race chariots under a desert sun. How did the 1950s turn film into the world's most daring classroom? From Singin' in the Rain and Rear Window to Ben-Hur and Some Like It Hot, these 20 masterpieces rewrote everything we thought movies could do. We'll unpack the craft, controversies, and innovations that keep them essential viewing 70 years later. Stay tuned to discover which classics still shape the stories you love today. Singin' in the Rain, 1952. Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen didn't just make a fun musical, they documented Hollywood's own technological panic. The plot mirrors 1927's talkie revolution, so the movie automatically becomes a short course on film history. Listen to the Moses Supposes sequence. It pokes fun at diction coaches hired to save silent-era stars, a crisis that really bankrupted studios. Technically, the picture was a feat. Kelly insisted on shooting dance numbers with wide frames and few cuts, proving choreography could carry narrative weight. To record every tap, MGM hid 40-plus microphones in lampposts and curbs. That experiment advanced on-set sound design standards. Finally, its long reach. Directors from Damien Chazelle, La La Land, to Baz Luhrmann cite Kelly's athletic camera staging as a template for melding story and spectacle. Critics such as Janine Bassinger still rank it the definitive movie about movies because it explains, in song, how creativity turns chaos into art. On the Waterfront, 1954. Why does Brando's "I Could Have Been a Contender" still sting? Because Elia Kazan shot the corruption drama on real Hoboken docks, letting rough voices and foggy sirens replace studio polish. That location realism, rare in 1954, persuaded studios that truth-based settings could outclass backlot facades. Brando's method performance also changed acting itself. Until then, big gestures ruled. Brando mumbled, fidgeted, and let silence hang. Acting teachers worldwide switched curricula, citing this film as proof that underplaying could electrify a scene. The story's moral spine, about standing up to mob tyranny, mirrored Kazan's guilt over naming names to HUAC. Viewers sensed authenticity. Box office success showed audiences would embrace uncomfortable social critiques. Modern labor rights movies, from Norma Rae to The Fighter, trace their DNA to Schulberg's dockside script. Rear Window, 1954. Alfred Hitchcock wanted to demonstrate pure cinema. He built a 4-story courtyard set, choreographed 31 apartments, and let James Stewart's telephoto lens become the only viewpoint. The restriction forces viewers to assemble clues visually, illustrating Hitchcock's thesis that montage shapes emotion more than dialogue. Grace Kelly's Midnight Break-In shows another lesson. Camera movement can create empathy. As the lens glides toward her, we share both her courage and the killer's looming threat. Film school courses use the scene to teach point-of-view grammar. Beyond craft, the movie diagnoses our modern screen culture. It asks, do we watch Neighbors out of concern or voyeuristic thrill? Contemporary thrillers such as Disturbia and even social media commentaries like Searching borrow its apartment block metaphor to explore ethical spectatorship. 12 Angry Men, 1957. Sidney Lumet proved you can stage a nail-biter in a single room. He rehearsed like theater, then shot chronologically, tightening focal lengths so the walls appear to close in. A visual rationale for escalating tension. The technique is now textbook for directors handling claustrophobic settings. But the film's greatness rests on ideas. Reginald Rose's script dismantles prejudice by showing how one calm voice dismantles sloppy reasoning. In the McCarthy era, That message functioned as a stealth plea for due process. Its influence endures. Juror room dynamics inspire corporate training videos, law school classroom debates, and TV bottle episodes from Breaking Bad to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Every time a drama portrays shifting groupthink, it is essentially reteaching the lessons of Lumet's lens geometry and Rose's logic. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. David Lean spends the first act convincing us Colonel Nicholson's bridge represents British resolve. Then he shows that resolve turned toxic. That contradiction provides the film's explanatory power. Professionalism without purpose becomes self-destruction. To sell the theme, Lean insisted on an actual bridge, in a Ceylon jungle, built by 4,000 workers and destroyed in one take. The logistical triumph signaled that widescreen epics could deliver both spectacle and moral ambiguity, a blend later echoed in Lawrence of Arabia and Apocalypse Now. Maurice Jarre's whistled Colonel Bogey March lodges in memory, reinforcing how sound motifs can carry irony. Military historians screen the film when discussing leadership ethics, proving its relevance beyond cinema studies. A Streetcar Named Desire, 1951. This adaptation wasn't merely staged to screen, it was an acting revolution. Marlon Brando's method intensity clashed with Vivien Leigh's classical precision, making audiences feel they were watching two art forms duel. That contrast explains why teachers still assign the picture when covering acting styles. Elia Kazan preserved Tennessee Williams's cramped apartment layout, allowing sweat and shadow to amplify Blanche's unraveling. By letting heat become a character, Kazan demonstrated environmental storytelling, how setting can mirror psychology. Censorship battles forced some dialogue cuts, yet the film still smoldered enough to push production code boundaries, clearing space for honest adult themes in later dramas like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? All About Eve, 1950. Joseph L. Mankiewicz's Oscar-winning script dissects ambition with surgical precision. Each epigram, "Fasten your seatbelts," doubles as a mini-lesson on how language can reveal power plays. Screenwriting courses still analyze its dialogue beats to show character development through wit. Structurally, the film pioneered nested flashbacks and voiceover rotation, letting multiple narrators reshape one story, a technique later adopted by Goodfellas and The Favorite. Commercially, its record-tying 14 Oscar nominations proved conversation-driven dramas could dominate awards season, encouraging studios to greenlight other smart, word-heavy projects in a Technicolor age. The Searchers, 1956. John Ford's panoramic Monument Valley shots aren't just pretty, they externalize Ethan Edwards' moral emptiness. Cinematographer Winton Hoch kept the hero framed against cavernous sky to visualize isolation, a method later quoted by Spielberg and Lucas. Narratively, the Western dared to question its protagonist's racism, foreshadowing revisionist takes like Unforgiven. Critics call it the first mainstream Western to make audience sympathy conditional. Its editing language, especially the famous doorway bookends, taught filmmakers how to close a saga while leaving psychological doors open. That grammar appears in everything from Star Wars to The Mandalorian. Ben-Hur, 1959. William Wyler fused old Hollywood grandeur with new Hollywood intensity. The 65mm cameras placed viewers inside chariots, rewriting action scene standards. MGM's unprecedented $15 million wager also proved epic budgets could be recouped through international distribution and roadshow runs. Theologically, the film's subtle use of Christ's unseen face allowed universal appeal, illustrating how restraint can broaden market reach. Its 11 Oscars validated long-form storytelling, prompting studios to fund later epics like Lawrence of Arabia. Most crucially, the film standardized second-unit action direction. Yakima Canutt's chariot race storyboards became required reading for stunt coordinators worldwide. Touch of Evil, 1958. Orson Welles wanted to prove Studio B pictures could house A-level artistry. His 3-minute opening tracking shot demonstrates seamless suspense via real-time geography. Film schools replay it frame by frame when teaching blocking and temporal tension. Editing battles show another reason for greatness. Welles's 58-page memo, arguing for his cut, became a primary document in auteur rights discussions. The 1998 restoration validated his instincts, influencing Directors Guild standards for final cut protection. Stylistically, its grotesque angles and nightmarish lighting rebooted film noir for a post-war audience, paving the way for neo-noirs from Chinatown to Blade Runner 2049. The Night of the Hunter, 1955. Charles Laughton used German expressionist lighting to turn America's rural South into a fairy tale nightmare. Cinematographer Stanley Cortez shot children rowing past silhouetted trees. It looks like a storybook etching come alive. The imagery teaches how stylization can reveal psychological truth. Initially a box office flop, critics later re-evaluated it, showing how reception can lag behind innovation. Today, it tops cinematography polls, proving timeless craft eventually trumps first-week grosses. Robert Mitchum's Tattooed Preacher became the blueprint for cinematic hypocrites, influencing villains from Cape Fear's Max Cady to Do the Right Thing's Radio Raheem. The African Queen, 1951. John Huston insisted on filming in Uganda and Congo, arguing genuine humidity would make audiences feel the heat. The gamble advanced portable camera usage and lightweight sound rigs. Story-wise, the film flips standard gender roles. Katharine Hepburn steers the mission, illustrating early Hollywood's capacity for strong female agency. That dynamic informs later adventure romances like Romancing the Stone. Humphrey Bogart's Oscar win rewarded comedic vulnerability, proof that tough guy icons could broaden range without losing box office draw, opening doors for action stars to explore softer roles. Some Like It Hot, 1959. Billy Wilder cracked the production code by embedding sexual frankness in rapid-fire jokes. His strategy explains how comedy can cloak controversial themes. Narratively, the script sets a modern pace, 1,400 jokes in 2 hours, a rhythm later mirrored by Airplane and The Wolf of Wall Street. Editing rhythms teach how punchline timing drives audience breath. Culturally, the film normalized cross-dressing narratives for mainstream viewers, laying groundwork for Tootsie and Mrs. Doubtfire. Its frequent topping of comedy polls demonstrates that breaking taboos can yield enduring laughs, if executed with wit. Shane, 1953. George Stevens amplified gunshots with recorded cannon fire, illustrating how sound design shapes perceived violence. The technique became standard for modern action mixing. Visually, deep focus vistas contrast with tight cabin interiors, teaching spatial storytelling. Peace feels wide. Threat feels boxed. Directors like Ang Lee cite Shane when framing moral showdowns. Its ending, Hero Rides into Myth, introduced the bittersweet last gunslinger trope, later echoed in The Wild Bunch, Logan, and countless lone wolf redemption tales. The Ten Commandments, 1956. Cecil B. DeMille proved analog effects could evoke biblical awe. He combined rear projection, dye vats, and gelatin walls to part the Red Sea, a practical showcase still dissected in VFX textbooks. Economically, The film's roadshow release with souvenir programs pioneered event marketing, influencing blockbusters from Star Wars to Avatar. Its casting of Charlton Heston's steely certainty against Yul Brynner's regal swagger delivered an archetype of hero versus charismatic villain, replicated in epics and even superhero sagas. The Thing from Another World, 1951. Producer Howard Hawks instructed actors to overlap dialogue, a break from stilted sci-fi speech. The naturalistic banter inspired later genre scripts, particularly Alien. Narratively, the Arctic isolation allegorized Cold War paranoia. The monster can mimic life, echoing fears of hidden communist agents. Scholars use it to explain how genre films smuggle political commentary. Its "Keep Watching the Skies" final line sparked 2 decades of alien invasion cinema, proving a single tag can seed an entire subgenre. The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1956. Hitchcock's remake improves its 1934 original by tying suspense to family stakes. The Albert Hall set piece links music cue to gunshot, demonstrating synergy between diegetic sound and plot tension. Now a staple in thrillers like Baby Driver. Doris Day's Que Sera, Sera serves triple duty: lullaby, foreshadowing, and marketing hook. Its Oscar win shows how integrating an original song can widen demographic appeal. Finally, the film evidences Hitchcock's belief in storyboarding every frame. Published boards are still teaching aids in film production courses. The Caine Mutiny, 1954. Humphrey Bogart's marble-rolling captain offers cinema's clearest case study of cracking authority. Psychologists reference the portrayal when discussing combat leadership stress. Courtroom structure turns abstract loyalty debates into tangible stakes, influencing later legal dramas like A Few Good Men. The Navy supported production, yet the script kept moral gray zones, showing cooperation needn't equal propaganda, an important precedent for future military collaborations. East of Eden, 1955. Elia Kazan and cinematographer Ted McCord used widescreen lenses to dwarf James Dean against Salinas Valley fields, visualizing adolescent insignificance. Dean's improvisations, slumping against fence posts, sudden hugs, broke rehearsal norms and birthed a new cinematic masculinity, vulnerable yet rebellious. Cultural historians link that persona directly to rock and roll attitude. The film also proved partial novel adaptations could succeed, encouraging future selective takes on large literary works, from No Country for Old Men to Dune. High Noon, 1952. Carl Foreman's script plays out in real time, synchronizing on-screen clocks with theater wall clocks, an innovation that intensifies urgency. Thrillers like Phone Booth copy the device. Its political allegory, Marshall Abandoned Under Threat, served as Foreman's indictment of Hollywood's blacklist cowardice. Presidents from Eisenhower to Clinton praised the picture as a primer on lonely leadership. Dmitri Tiomkin's ticking score pioneered the use of recurring musical motifs to mark narrative countdowns, influencing composers from John Williams to Hans Zimmer.